Hello and welcome back to Just Another Football Podcast. You will be upset that Harry is not here, but you will be happy to know that he was at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium watching the North London Derby. This was mad. Arsenal are now 8 points clear. The Manchester Derby was crazy. Chelsea are pulling off the most insane transfers we have ever seen and hopefully will ever see in our lifetimes. And Serie A is getting a little bit interesting too. So there's a lot to talk about. There's an AS Roma game going on currently. So at the end, we'll bring you tabs on Tammy. It's back. Fergal, are you excited for this?
Yeah, and did you mention El Clasico as well?
Oh, El Clasico's going on, but that's the Super Cup. And its new format that includes teams that haven't won anything before. So it disinterests me a little bit. But sure, yeah, Barcelona are up by a big margin. I think it was 3-0. It was 3-1 full-time Barcelona Real Madrid. It has this new format where it's a semi-final and a final in Saudi Arabia in the winter. So it used to be in the summer, right?
I was thinking of the Copa del Rey, but that is their like Community Shield one, right?
That's their Community Shield, essentially, yeah. That it has so much history of like in that Mourinho Guardiola rivalry era. It was really good competition at the start of the season, and now it's just been absolutely ruined. But yeah, Barcelona won that, so congrats to them, I suppose. 3-1. It was 3-0 until the 90th minute. Benzema scored. So let's get straight past that and into the North London Derby. There's a lot more business at the end too. 3-1. Sorry, not 3-1. 2-0 Arsenal. Could have been more, but Tottenham also could have scored because Ramsdale had an unbelievable game. Is there any way back for Man City now? Let's start big picture league table wise. Any way back for Man City at this stage for the league title? We're not halfway through.
There is, of course.
If
they win, there's 2 games.
Yeah, I suppose so.
It's still out of their hands if they won their 2 games, but you know, Man City could do it. If any team could do it, it is Man City. So it's not totally out of their hand, but Arsenal look bloody brilliant.
Yeah,
annoyingly.
I hate to be some kind of jinx, but I don't think so. Having watched and shameless plug into ManCityAnalytics.com, I write for them over there. There should be a post-match analysis of the Manchester Derby. We'll get to that soon. Man City have had a bad season, just general performance-wise, and we'll talk about it more in the Manchester Derby review. It's not been good as good as the last 5-6 years. George, what do you think? As a man that thought Chelsea would have a chance at a title, obviously. Had to throw it in there.
George is blown away by Man City's performances based on thinking Chelsea were going to be league title contenders.
No, seriously though.
And also having to witness firsthand a 4-0 drumming at the Etihad as well. But no, they definitely have a chance. They definitely have a chance. It's Man City. Me saying that people have a chance in the title race tends to mean they drop off and they won't see the daylight again. But Man City are a bit different. They've got an overall squad quality that I don't think's ever been seen in the Premier League before in terms of like for like replacements throughout the first 11. So in terms of why they can get back into it, it's more, do Arsenal have the squad depth outside of their first 11 to cope with the games that will be coming up? There's still 20 games left as well. We've got a long way to go, and things can turn around very dramatically in the late half of the season. It's nice to see a title contender though. We're talking about Man City. I mean, Newcastle are 1 point behind them as well, and Man United 1 point behind them. There's a few more teams, perhaps not those 2 teams because of their actual performances, but it's not over, and I'm sure Harry would agree. It's not over until Man City very much have the capacity to go 14 wins, in a row. So yeah, I wouldn't write them off yet.
And also, weren't they doing? Was it last season they started off badly, and then Gundogan and it really had a good spell, and then they kicked on into gear and won it at ease then pretty much. So like they might not be playing well, but although the way Pep was talking, it was kind of like he kind of sensed it himself. But then him talking like that. The thing is with Pep as well, you always have to remember, I really don't think he cares about the media whatsoever. He comes out with all sorts of nonsense. I think he just gets bored with it. I think sometimes he just has fun with it himself. So he's like, and I think he knows that the Man City fans know not to take him whatever he says at face value. So whenever he comes out with that sort of thing, I don't even think it's mind games necessarily. I think it's just like
it's having fun.
He's just filling the silence that he needs to fill in order to do his press stuff that he's obligated to do. But yeah, I would like them. It was Man United were really good in that game.
In the Manchester Derby. We'll get to it soon.
In the Manchester Derby. Will we do that and then do the North London Derby?
we'll do North London Derby first.
Okay.
Let's stick it chronologically. Well, if we take it like that, actually. Anyway.
That's chronologically.
It's fresh in our minds, lads. Let me tell you, I watched the Manchester Derby twice. I've rewatched it again last night. And it was pretty tough to do, so I think the more entertaining game was the Arsenal Tottenham game anyways. Or Arsenal Tottenham. But Tottenham though, first half just offered nothing. Just did absolutely nothing. I was watching the Twitch stream, the James Alcott Twitch stream. And the starting lineup, I get being compact, but it was this thin. It was just like as if 11 players are lined up next to each other, and I wasn't sure watching or looking at this because I missed like the first 15 minutes or so what the shape was supposed to mean, what was supposed to happen. And your son would drop like so deep, Harry Kane deep, and Harry Kane would drop even deeper than a typical Harry Kane would, and there was just nothing up front, and I don't know what was supposed to happen. Did anyone make sense of what their approach was? I guess
but we've kind of seen it before though. Like this, it's kind of like under Mourinho. Like you sort of just like one of these sort of dig in performances, but they just seem to be working less and less. This type of attitude, it's like plays into like a great team. If you're up against a great team and plays into their hands, they'll just like ping it round you, left to right. Keep you penned in. You won't get a touch out, and at some point there'll be a really good chance, and the XG will definitely be over 1. And it's just whether or not that team has the quality to take the chances that they have, and if they're a great team, they do have the quality, or if you have a goalkeeper that likes to throw it in his own net, then that can happen as well. It would have been interesting to see if Lloris hadn't done that, if they would have held on for much longer, but I don't think it really would have mattered. But that was one of the worst headers I've seen in a long time, because like if he literally just was not there, I think that was going just right across the face of the goal.
It was actually,
and like it's such an easy. If he didn't use his hands, he probably would have saved it.
Headed
it. There's so many ways, like not the traditional way of saving that sort of shot, but there's so many ways that he could have saved that. But for some, his hands, his like wrist turned to glass, and like he just parried it into his own net. Is one of the. It almost like it literally was almost like he like palmed it straight in as well. It was odd, really, really odd that such an awful mistake.
I missed the goal in real time, right? And then I watched the replay of it, and obviously I was as confused, but watching another like slow-mo replay, it comes at him like quick, right? It was deflected first and then it comes at him quick. And I think his mindset was, okay, I need to save it. That was like, Bukayo Saka's going to shoot and I'm going to have to save. That was his mindset, right? And then it gets to him. Then he, I guess, is wrong-footed.
I feel like
he's fooled by the direction and then...
I think he went like more right hand instead of left hand.
Because he was going to save it with his right hand, because that's what makes sense in that situation. Like if Saka's going to go across the face of goal, which is
you're ready to like tip it out towards the
you're ready
like away
or just high, like you get your head, you're kind of palm on it and deflected away for a corner, I guess. So whenever the ball changes direction, he gets his right hand to it, and then it goes behind.
The fact it just comes into him right into his chest, like
it's still comical. It is still comical, and I think it turned out to be like a real downer for the rest of the half of like a real. There was such a deflation about Tottenham afterwards. It's like, God's sake, like we had a good start. Why we considered this, and then it was just kind of an annoyance.
I saw a few people on sort of Irish football Twitter suggesting, is it time to get a new goalkeeper and then to go and get Kelleher was the suggestion.
There's a few shouts. There's Kelleher, more expensive but as good options. Robert Sanchez, I think, would be excellent for them.
Yeah.
Someone like Mamardashvili from Valencia, really good.
Don't know.
He's Georgian goalkeeper, starter for Valencia. Really, really good. Like, great reflexes. Yeah, these three I think would be my top three candidates. Pickford should be like one of the first names on their list, especially if Everton go down, I think. For example.
Yeah, that fits quite nicely, actually.
Yeah, fits the aura of the club. Fits like... Yeah.
A prick that'll never win anything.
Thoughts, George? Purely as an England fan.
Yeah, I think it's tough to replace a player like Lloris, but not because he's very, very good, but because he's the captain, and because if you can sort of bleed out a captain like Milner because they're old, but a keeper at 36, it's like, well, he is old, but it's still manageable.
My camera froze. Hold on. You carry on. Finish your point.
So as soon as you buy in another keeper, that's it for Lloris. You can't have a captain who doesn't play a single game in the season apart from FA Cup games. So making that decision, and when you make that decision is quite. I imagine it's quite a difficult one. Obviously, you can then look at other replacements for captaincy like Harry Kane, but he's not good enough anymore. I think it's pretty clear. I don't think he's impressed for the last couple of seasons.
He's had that mistake in him for a good while now. Like absolutely. going before the last World Cup final where he made that mistake, but even before then he had that aura. But then he still pulls off some amazing saves, but it does feel like it is near the end, like for him at the top level anyway. But yeah, and then I thought Odegaard was really good.
Oh, he's amazing.
As he has been all season, and took this goal really well. But then you're looking at defending for that goal, and it's like, how do you give him so much time and space? Like such a cliche thing to say, but like
that's my problem with defensive teams, right? I personally, if I were ever to become a football manager, I would not take as defensive an approach. And I support and work for Philadelphia Union, who have one of the lowest possessions in the league. I think we were third in possession last season, but the defense is proactive. Like we try to make. We try to give the opposition time on the ball, but do something with that. We keep our shape narrow and compact as much as possible, so you're forcing the opposition wide, and you're having a lot of bodies around any player that gets the ball, because the workspace for the opposition is super low, and the threat of their passes is always going to be poor. That we have quick enough center backs that if the ball is played over the top, they're covered it. So we conceded like a extraordinarily low number of chances last season. The Tottenham and the likes that have like passive low blocks of defenses, while effective sometimes, and some teams play it to good effect. Burnley did it for a long time. It depends on how you do it. Like, one thing you don't do is give a player like Odegaard that much space outside the 18-yard box. You drop so deep that the space on top of the box, one of the most dangerous places for goal scoring for any midfielder, is that open. And yeah, man, for a team that plays a double pivot too, it's so poor.
To be fair, Ali, on that, in terms of obviously the low block, I think the problem was where they pressed. I think the two centre mids, from my memory, the ball was won by Arsenal centre back headed into sort of the midfield. Both centre mids pressed one player, and they just flicked it on to Saka, and then there was no midfield. Obviously, then you can argue, does Dyer have to step out in terms of closing that gap? Because there's a back three. But in terms of that, I think when you've got a passive defence, it's all about when you have those pressing traps, when you make movements towards the ball. And they clearly got it massively wrong with poor communication. And when you've only got two in midfield, that's the risk. If one of you get it wrong and you both press, there's going to be loads of holes. And if the third defender doesn't step out, then you've got problems, especially for a player like Odegaard, who's just so technically, just his quality on the ball is just superb to find the bottom corner. It's a great strike. Arsenal were good again. They were intense. The intensity was there. They've got a really tough run at the moment as well. They had Brighton, they had Newcastle, played Tottenham. They've got, I think, Man United next, and then
that would be a really good game, I think.
Absolutely, and I think they've got City coming up as well. So they're not out of the clear yet. But I was looking at this sort of fixture period from Brighton all the way to to City. It's 5 or 6 really tough games, and they've done extremely well. So they're looking really positive moving into.
If they can get to the City games and they're like. It's set up that like they have like, let's say, an 8.6 point gap, and you're there going into those City games. You're like, just take the draw.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
a great position to be in. Like, to just be like not worried about it. I feel like this Arsenal team is good enough to have that mindset. I feel like you have to be a really, really elite team to go in and sort of have the mentality of like, we'll take a draw but not play like that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And still do your normal game, even though in the back of your head you're like, we taking 0-0 here. But they're in a great position, and like, it's the only thing is just injuries. Is just like the only thing that could scupper them, really, because I don't really see anything that's going to stop them with this points gap. Like,
agreed.
You know what? Go and buy Manu Kone and Marcus Thuram. I think I've had Marcus Thuram suggested for 3 teams in a row, but go get Manu Kone and go get Marcus Thuram. And
who's Manu Kone?
Manu Kone is a midfielder from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Unreal for a team like Arsenal, for a team like George is gone. Scabber's gone this time. Technical difficulties. We're pushing through here today. For a team like Arsenal, for a team like Liverpool, let's say, for a team like with proactive midfields, he's very good.
I feel like
especially with the Mudryk transfer being off, and Arsenal having been willing to spend 70 million or so on that, I think you have a chance here, Arsenal. Don't bottle it. Don't bottle it.
Yeah, I suppose they could do with another centre back. The centre backs look very robust though. I think they could get through a game.
Did I say center back? I said center mid.
Center mid, sorry.
Yeah, Mancona is.
Oh,
center
like
mid.
instead of if to replace Party, is it?
Well, to be rotation for
Yeah.
Party. Well, you have Xhaka, you have Partey, you have Elneny, and you have Sambi Lokonga. Is that enough? Not so sure.
Well,
Like,
I
you need
thought
some more depth there,
Lokonga, the
given
idea
the
would
amount
have
of
been
time.
that he could come in place of Party. I thought he was that sort of player, but like there doesn't seem to be any suggestion or confidence that if Party is injured, that anybody's able to do half as good a job. We know Xhaka can't do it like reliably. Because he is more box to box, and then Elneny just like he's like a last 10 minutes job player, like just to shore things up.
Yeah,
And then
even I will admit that.
And then you've got who's the last one? Lokonga, who they don't seem to be overly confident in putting him in.
Yeah,
I couldn't say whether he is good enough or not to do it, but
Yeah.
from the game time he's got, you wouldn't think so.
yeah.
But yeah, I feel like they could have done with one more attacking player, just because like feels like goal scoring's the thing that's like could dry up, or
Yeah.
like like it's the hardest thing to keep going. You
Yeah.
can sort of stay solid enough if you've got the same back four all the time and everybody stays fit. But like if like Nketiah doesn't score, like he had a couple of chances there today. If people have an off game, if you come up against a well-oiled defensive machine, then they could keep you out. So it's having that option off the bench, and Smith Rowe just doesn't seem like he's quite on it like he was. So I understand why they're going for Mudryk, and it would have made sense for them.
To an extent, I'm not sure about the price of Mudryk at all. Even if Arsenal had bought him, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's a forward with 7 career goals. He's still very young. A forward with 7 career goals in Ukraine. I don't know. I haven't watched him much, so I'm not the best to kind of make an opinion on that. But...
Well, we talk about this now? Cause
yeah. Let's get into it if we got that far.
Yeah, right. So I've seen Mudryk. I've seen a whole game of Mudryk once against Ireland, and Nathan Collins kept him quiet. And then I've seen clips of him, and he looks electric, but he looks very raw. In the Champions League, he does look like he's went up another level this year. Like, he does look impressive, because whenever I saw him play against Ireland, it would have been before the start of this season.
Yeah.
But Nathan Collins did keep him quiet. So I'm very
the
sort
reference.
of. It's like maybe Nathan Collins is like maybe he is the next Paul McGrath. Maybe Nathan Collins is unlucky with that he's only at Wolves, or maybe Mudryk has a wee bit of improvement to go before he's anywhere near worth the initial £60 million fee. The most worrying bit about this transfer for me is that it feels like a panic buy. It's the first time I feel like they've like the other ones I could see the thinking behind it. This one, I understand why we've gone for it, but it feels a very panic buy. It's like we didn't have a left winger due to injuries. Then Joao Felix came in and got sent off, and then like, well, we don't have anybody that can really play left wing for at least 3 games or so. Panic buy Mudryk, and it's like, is it worth it? Is Mudryk gonna? Because the only reason it's worth it for me is if you think Mudryk is going to be the player that gets us top 4. That's the only reason I think why you make this move now. Because anything else, getting any position in between 10th and 4th is like, well, what's the point in spending 60 million on a player when for the same price you're gonna get close to buying Liao, or you might actually get Liao for that price, or you might get the Georgian guy. I can never say his name.
No, Kvaratskhelia would be around 100. Just because the owner
but
is
both
very
of them are going to be
robust.
around 100 million. But I think both of them are better looking players than Mudryk. Are both of them slightly older? I know Leao's definitely older.
Yeah,
Leao's about
Kvara's
23.
not much older. Don't feel like.
Not much older, yeah. But I just have a bit more certainty about him. Mudryk does seem like a good player, but it's just like and I'm actually happy we have him because we did need to get a new left winger at some point. I think Pulisic's time is clearly done now.
Mudryk is older than Kvaratskhelia, actually. Mudryk is 22 years old.
So
Kvaratskhelia is 21.
So he's actually older than I thought he was. I thought he was a wee bit younger than that. But
yeah.
See, look, I think he's a good player. I think he definitely adds to the squad. But I'm just worried about sort of the thinking that went behind this. I feel like this is the first time where it feels like a panic buy and it's an awful lot of money. And it's not the same excuse as the summer buys where they were coming into they were learning on the job. It was all very rushed. I understood some of the buys. I can forgive that transfer if we overspent or maybe didn't get quite the right player, but we did fill spots that we needed to fill. So all that kind of made sense. This one is just like it's such an honest. If Joao Felix didn't get a red card, are we buying Mudryk? I'm not sure we are.
No,
and that
I
feels
think
like
are.
a really stupid thing to be doing.
I think you are, George. Let me know what are your thoughts on this before I go on a rant.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's a tough one because it does match the profile of the kind of players we want to bring in terms of young, lots of potential, mainly in the end of players' careers like Hudson-Odoi and like Ziyech. Obviously Ziyech on the right, but similar profile players, attacking forwards across the front three of attacking midfielders. The only positive I see with this one in terms of the nature of the signing, I don't know a lot about his technical ability. I mean, he's highly rated, and clearly, if Arsenal are going for him, other clubs, hotly tipped, there must be something there. There is always that risk with a £70 million player, 100 million euros, whatever it is, and I still believe that not one single £100 million player has ever worked out in a positive other than Mbappe. And even then, there's arguments for that not have worked out just yet in terms of the Champions League.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it's concerning. The positive is when Chelsea historically do these swooping in, sort of stealing a player off another club, as we have done,
way too many times.
Yeah, they seem to go well. Fabregas we took from Arsenal, we took Willian from Tottenham. So, I mean, in terms of our, taking players off rivals, maybe we'll wait and see if he can sort of follow in those footsteps.
Well, there's one certainty is that he's going to be at the club for a long time.
Yeah,
it's an 8.5 years.
Is that legal? I
know I saw some Chelsea fan was like 8.5 years. That's imprisonment. Which, like, if it goes wrong, like an 8.5 year contract is like we're protecting the value. But if he turns out to be rubbish, it's like we've got this guy for 8.5 years.
Here's the thing. As long as the contract goes, and even if he wins 3 Ballon d'Ors, it will never have been worth it.
Oh no! Come on!
If he wins 3 Ballon d'Ors, he's worth it.
No. Look. Spending £100 million on a single professional athlete.
70.
Well, whatever it is, 70, 50. He's not worth 50. He's not worth 40. He's not worth 30.
Oh, he's worth 30.
It is absolute madness that it is even allowed to get close to whatever price you ended up spending it on, even if it's 50 of whatever currency. It's not right. It shouldn't happen.
So,
you'll never get good return on investment for him because I don't think he is a player 22 years old and has 19 career starts. in the leagues. 9 career goals in leagues.
Was Van Dijk worth it? Was Van Dijk worth it? Was Alisson worth it?
Van Dijk and Alisson. Alisson was definitely worth it.
It's ridiculous.
I haven't said anything yet. I haven't said anything. Alisson was worth it because he's £60 million. He's not even the most expensive goalkeeper of all time.
That's the same price as Mudryk currently.
It's about 10 million.
62 million with a 26 million add-ons. The add-ons include winning the Champions League.
So
or
it's
the
70
Premier
and
League.
30, right? My argument is
62 million and 26 million pounds.
Okay, my argument is
it's 30 euro.
My argument is regardless of the Mudryk price, whether it's 100 or it's definitely 70 million and then 30 million add-ons.
Euro, yeah.
Okay, euros. My personal belief is that spending 100 million pounds on a player will never return good investment. Like it will never reach.
I get your point. I get your point.
It'll never be worth it.
But I don't. You can never say never. I agree that we've overspent on this point, but like, if you've got Mbappe for 100 million, I think everybody's like, that's value for money.
I am flat against spending 100 million pounds on any single player.
But there's a difference. But also, Ali, you've got to think. The prize money for winning the Champions League, the prize money for winning a Premier League. Obviously, it's hard to quantify a value of one player towards a trophy because it's a team sport. But to say blanket, it's never worth it. Well, if you bring in Ronaldo and he wins, 5 Champions Leagues for you, bring in Bale, he wins 5 Champions Leagues, you win, a couple of Ligas.
Would you agree that there are far too many players costing far too much money?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. And I think, yeah.
And would you agree that most of the players that teams have spent 100 million plus on have been flops?
Yes.
Like the only players that
but
have
it's not
reached
a hard
100
and
million.
fast rule because there is the exception of Mbappe.
It's one singular exception for a absolutely generational player
the
that
sample
hasn't
size
worked.
isn't too big,
hasn't
Ali.
worked. PSG's tried to sign Mbappe to win the
how many players have
Mbappe's leaving in the
cost
summer.
100 million or more?
Say what?
How many players have cost 100 million or more?
Okay,
I think it's quite a small sample size.
It is a small sample. It's not a small sample size anymore.
You're talking.
It's more than 10 players. I'll pull up the list right
10%
right now.
then. What 1 in 10 could be Mbappe?
Is it gonna be Mudryk?
The other side.
No, I agree, Mudryk, but I just have an issue with you like doing like a hard and fast rule over 100 million pound players. I think they. Like if you really want to get into the
spend 100 million pounds on a player
and everything of it, no player is worth 100 million. Like that is a ridiculous amount of money. The amount of money, all the things you could do with 100 million, blah blah blah. But I think you could I wouldn't like if you could have bought Messi for the players that are worth more than 100 million. Like Messi in his prime was worth more than 100 million.
Yeah.
But then that's what I mean. If you're saying a player is worth 100 million and you could pay the money to get him, then he is worth it.
But Messi's the greatest player of all time.
But that's my point.
Messi in his prime.
You're hard and fast rule about like they're never good. I agree that it's very unlikely they're gonna make it.
Okay,
like Mudryk,
very few exceptions.
Mudryk isn't gonna.
Wrote on Twitter. Anyway.
Mudryk only currently costs 60 million, but we've definitely overpaid. I think he is probably a. I'm trying to think of a comparative player to compare him to that of like what he's already done and everything. But yeah, he's probably worth 30, I'd say.
Yeah,
I think we've probably paid.
There you go.
We've probably paid. We've currently paid double what he's worth.
Yeah.
But then if he does win Champions League and Premier Leagues with us, he would have contributed, you'd hope. Or I say that he could have been sat in the reserve for 8.5 years.
The point I was trying to make,
while we win a Champions League or Premier League.
The point I was trying to make, and I am pretty angry about the transfer, and I'm pretty angry about Chelsea spending 500 billion in 6 months. Like, just morally, I think there's a lot better use of money than that. Spending 500 million on a silly sport. But I think what the point I was trying to make is the fact whatever he does at Chelsea will not change the fact that it was an overspend now. Like the fact that you spent 70 million
I don't know.
In
theory, I think it's unlikely. But if you're after saying if he wins 3 Ballon d'Ors, if he wins 3 Ballon d'Ors, what is he? One off Messi's record. I think it's
Messi has
he
6.
would be worth it.
I think.
If
6.
oh yeah, 6. Or he's got half. We've got half a Messi.
Half of Messi. I don't know.
For 100 million, I would take half a Messi for 100 million. So I think it is possible that Mudryk goes on and becomes like I literally don't know enough about him, and I think he does look like a really exciting player that he could do it, but it's a slim chance. I'll give you that, but I think
it's very slim.
You can repay 100.
It's a chance so slim that you shouldn't. It's just a stupid. Like you shouldn't have. Why are you buying yet another inverted winger that plays behind strikers? That's another part I'm not getting here. Like you have 100 million. We're saying 100 million a lot today. We have so many players that play that role, and you don't have an actual striker. Well, Datra Fofana, I think it's going to turn out well, but not now. Like you could have used that money to spend on 2 strikers.
But even if we got Nkunku coming in, who's more of like sort of a false 9 sort of thing as well.
Another false 9 that's not exactly a goal scorer. Again, like.
But the idea would be that if you have a good player running past him, like Human Song, which Mudryk has the sort of like similar sort of profile of like a really fast dribbler. It was one of the clips of him that was going around. They scored in the Champions League where he runs down the left, like a Rashford or Song type goal.
Yep.
Like playing alongside a false 9 makes sense in that role. So like Liverpool done it for ages with Firmino, Salah, and Mane. Like if we get a good right winger, it'll make sense that we're going for a false 9. I don't know where Havertz fits in all this though, but there's another 70 million pound conundrum if we do go that road. And when Nkunku signed, I don't know where Havertz quite fits in all this, but he scored today, and credit to him.
Look, with all these things as usual, when it comes to players' careers and how they turn out, when I underestimate a player, it's always with the caveat of like, I hope I'm wrong, because it is a career, right? So yeah, if I'm wrong, so be it. But 70 million on Mudryk is
the other mad thing
outrageous.
is just happen. Like, I don't know how I feel about it. Is like how he was like twerking for Arsenal. I don't know if that was because like he just wanted to move out of Shakhtar Donetsk, if he wanted to move to the Premier League, and Arsenal were the main one that were interested in him, or if he like genuinely wanted Arsenal more than any other club. In which case, I'm like, oh wow, is he? The other thing, I can't imagine him hitting the ground running with this sort of transfer, the way it's gone about. That like it feels like there's too much of a whirlwind for a player coming from like the Ukrainian league to like settle into the squad straight away. If he thought for like a whole month or more, and he had his heart set on moving to Arsenal and being part of their title challenge, to then coming to us, I don't know. It depends on what sort of attitude he has. Maybe he's just really, really professional and like he's up for it. But I wouldn't blame him if he's like a wee bit all out of sorts and is like isn't quite ready to hit the ground running. So, but the question as I said, is like, is he going to be the difference between us getting the Champions League or not? And he's definitely not that right now. he might turn out to be a really good player for us down the line.
Yeah.
But I feel like we could have missed him and got someone else in the summer. The only thing is, if we don't have Champions League, maybe we couldn't attract the player that we wanted to in the summer. That's the other caveat. But I feel like if we, we'll wait and see. I think he's a good player. How good, we'll soon find out. We've now got loads of left wingers again. And Pulisic is done. I'm pretty confident about saying that.
Yeah, he's out for another 2 months. Outrageous.
It's that long, is it?
It is.
I feel sorry, but he's a really talented player when he's got a run of games and he's at his peak, especially under Lampard. He's brilliant, but like he was one probably in that position. He's probably my favorite at the club whenever he was in form.
Yeah,
I thought he'd be in the starting 11 most weeks, but it's few and far between when you see the best of Pulisic, and it's due to the injuries, which isn't necessarily his fault, but we can't be relying on a player like that. I mean, that's just so injury prone.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. Manchester Derby. Not the most eye-catching game in the first half. But second half, it exploded into life.
Yeah.
To use a very commonly used cliche. Cliche is the word I'm looking for. There you go.
To shorten that phrase into one word. I commonly used.
I was thinking about the word all the way through. But yeah, Man United 2, Manchester City 1, controversially so. But I think United deserved the win. But let's talk about the thing everyone talked about after the game more than anything else. The goal's offside, right? Just to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
It by the letter of the law, I think it is.
There you go.
But I don't know if I like the letter of the law because I was
you think the goal should stand?
I was listening to a podcast. It was like a rule change podcast where they come up with like what would they change and all this here sort of thing.
Wait, what podcast is that?
I think it was a Football Ramble one.
Oh.
And they've done like what they changed. Anyway, one of the things I think they brought up in that was like to simplify the offside rule and to make it so that you have to be touching the ball to be offside. I don't know if I'd like that. I think you could bring into maybe like would you have to be making contact with like an opposition's player. If you were physically touching an opposition's player, that was like, because we see it all the time that like the offsides are now getting called if like someone's blocking a runner at a set piece.
Yeah.
I feel like that should still be offside because you're having a physical effect on opposition and you're in an offside position.
Well, you could argue like if you remove, I saw a really good tweet of. A really good tweet is not something I say often, but it's like Rashford is removed entirely from the play, and it's just Bruno Fernandes scoring, and whether the decisions of Akanji and Ederson would be the same.
I thought Akanji definitely slowed down. I thought Akanji slowed down because if he runs into Rashford, like he could give away a foul if he's not sure if it was offside. But then it would be offside.
If he gives the foul, if he gives away the foul, it would be offside.
But like Akanji physically cannot run through a player.
I know
because it would probably have played on. So like, and like Rashford at one point is literally like an inch away. His foot is an inch away. Like he jumps past the ball. Like he's so close to touching the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know how it stood.
No,
but I didn't mind actually seeing Man City getting beat. I'm actually enjoying it now.
I'm fine. I'm fine with it.
Are you allowed to say that, Ali?
Yes, because it means I know we're not winning the league. Would I want to win the league or Arsenal to win the league?
No, but are you allowed to say that with your Arsenal or your Man City vlog even?
Of course I am. What do you mean?
I just didn't know. Like, are you meant to be sort of pro Man City?
No. The job posting, it's not a paying thing, it's a volunteer thing. But whenever I saw the posting, it said you don't need to be a Man City fan.
Do you know why?
Here are the Liverpool tops right at the back of the thing I put on my resume. It's a Liverpool podcast. There you go. You can see it clearly.
to be fair, it'd be quite hard to find a Man City fan to do that as well. So they've probably opened up the candidate pool. But
there
no, just to touch on this, I mean, I think it's been said, hasn't it, in terms of it is offside.
It's offside.
Law. I think there's tweaks to the offside rule that can be brought in. What that officially is, obviously, will be left up to the lawmakers. But at the moment, I do think it is just too marginal and too subjective in certain places for it to be functional.
Mm-hmm.
So, hopefully that changes within the next few years.
I did like it initially, but then some of the calls have been like it's just too subjective. But then at the same time, it does feel fair in some scenarios that like if you're blocking the side of a goalkeeper or stuff like that. But then like the whole wording of it, like, if you're affecting the play, I can't remember the exact wording of it, but to that effect. Well, the point's been made as well. Like if you're on the pitch and you're not affecting the play at some point, like it's near impossible not to do that because a good defender will be keeping everybody on the pitch in mind, whether or not apart from maybe the goalkeeper, but like a good defender will be thinking about every player, especially if they're making a run in behind them.
Yeah,
you're affecting that defender at some point.
Yeah,
we are a bit strapped for time, so I'll just we'll jump past that and go straight to the game. But it is offside. We agree on that. But United deserve the win because I think. So the problem with it's a deserved defeat for Man City because it's a direct consequence of general strategy, general decision making since the World Cup. They've gone with like 3 or 4 different shapes and just tactics. It's like changing your stuff on FM all the time. You can't find the right thing to work. So they've gone with a WM against us. They've done, I think it was against us. They've gone with 3-3-3-1 against Chelsea. They've gone with Cancelo on the right wing once. Julian Alvarez starting on his own once. And then the result of that was a real struggle against Chelsea when they shouldn't have. EFL Cup defeat against Southampton, 2-0, pretty convincing defeat as well. And this. Another pretty deserved defeat. I think when I saw the lineup, it was a thing of, okay, it looks like they're going back to basics a little bit here, which is a good, sensible thing. But watching the game then, it was so slow and so unintentional. Not unintentional. So unconfident, I suppose. They were not sure about what they were doing. So Joao Cancelo in the third minute has a run, one of his typical inverted wing back runs, and he never did it again. And I wasn't sure if that was by design or what, because off the ball, if the ball was on the right, Joao Cancelo would really tuck into midfield, but whenever the chance was built on his side, he would never drift infield like he typically does. So it was it was pretty interesting to see from a psychological standpoint. It was the decision making was just off, and even the defensive organization for a point of the second goal, everything's on the right. I'd never seen the defensive line so disorganized. They were doing their shoulder thing of 3 at the back of Walker, Akanji, and Ake. Cancelo's defending on the left, but the midfield was just vacant, and Rodri was pressing high, and that doesn't typically happen. Rodri would sometimes drop in and support the defender, making a bit of a back 4, just so there's a bit of security at the back when
I
the
thought Garnacho turned. Who was it? Akanji he turned. I can't remember who it was, but whoever he turned to put in the cross, I thought it was really, really easy to.
Yeah, it was. No, Akanji did a poor job of marking Rashford at the back post. Who was it? Yeah. Who was it? It probably was Walker. Must have been.
But I thought because I thought he had him in a good position, and then he just seemed to react so slow to Garnacho turning. And Garnacho, in fairness, to him, great turn on, great ball in.
It's excellent.
But yeah, nobody was marking Rashford. But it seemed like it was just switched off slightly, and Rashford is in incredible form. Great to see.
Yeah. I think what Garnacho also did was take more, because Rashford was clearly struggling with his hip from that first half. I think he charged into, I think, Nathan Ake one time, and he blocked it. And the crowd goes wild, but like if you see really closely, he was actually really limping. Like he was hopping on one foot, trying to get his bounce back, and like just fell into like the advertising hoardings a little bit, and then kind of limped back, then started running again. It was just really energetic game from him, but it was he's clearly struggling with his hip, and it would be interesting to see how long the layoff would be. I think he could be injured for a few games. But Garnacho then injected some more pace, because City made one substitution all game, so there just wasn't as fresh legs as there was, I guess. But really, really good game from Man United. Just defensively as well. Luke Shaw starting to get center back. I'm still not sure about, but City just did.
I know. I keep thinking the app that gives the formations for me, I keep thinking that they've got it wrong, and I'm like, what? But
guess he's starting center back.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
Maybe he isn't a short king, Luke Shaw. Maybe he's not.
If he's moved into centre back, he's a potential short king, potentially.
Oh, relative to the position, I hear it.
Relative
I hear
to the
it.
position, because although he's still above 6 foot, isn't he? But
No.
I thought he was 5'11".
Is he 5'11"? If he's 5'11", I think he's a contender for a short king.
Luke Shaw.
5'11's too tall. Even a centre back, 5'11's too tall.
Wikipedia has 6'1".
I thought he was 6'1". I thought he was 6'1".
All right. Well, I guess that carries us into. Oh no, I was gonna skip Liverpool, boys. I was gonna skip Liverpool, but I don't know what else to say about Liverpool. Obviously, we lost to Brighton 3-0.
Evan Ferguson, great again, great assist.
Yeah, talk about it.
I tell you what, Solly March is having the season of his life. He's so good at the moment.
Unbelievable. He ripped us apart.
What height is Solly March?
Solly March. While you look that up, it was refreshing to see that the Liverpool, well, not refreshing and depressing at the same time, to see Klopp and the players finally providing the real reasons of a defeat, like the real reasons of a defeat. Like Klopp coming out and not talking about the referees and being upfront and saying we were terrible and I can't remember a worse game. He's right. But Jordan Henderson as well coming out and saying we are in a bad place and it's kind of time to admit that kind of thing. It was refreshing in one way to finally get an honest response to a performance, because after the Brentford game, the Brentford performance was down there. It was awful. But then Klopp comes out and is like, "Oh, if this penalty isn't given, or was there a penalty? No, it was like physical contact from a corner that he was complaining about." But man, it was a bad performance. I acknowledge that. Acknowledge your defensive problems. The fact that Alisson's having the best season in a Liverpool shirt, and we're as bad a defense as Everton at that point. I think we might be even worse now.
Solly March is 5'11".
So much. He's not a contender then. Just slightly to a couple inches. It doesn't look like we're getting any other signings, just based off Klopp's press conference before the game. And I do think
what have you thought of Gakpo for the moment?
Bit sluggish. I don't know. I don't want to judge it from 2 games that looked really sluggish. Like we had a couple moments of Henderson or another midfielder's on the ball. I saw a screenshot of it today. There was Henderson on the ball, and there was a real chance. Like Gakpo is 1-on-1 with Dunk in a high line. So if Henderson plays the ball over the top, it's a foot race. So just play it over the top. But Gakpo kept dropping off. I don't know if that's a lack of... and Klopp mentioned it, didn't he? He had ideas, they weren't implemented. Is it a lack of like
cohesion and
cohesion and
familiarity.
implementation and familiarity from Gakpo's side. I think that's what it is. He will come good. Just based on his numbers, you would bet he would.
Like, I've saw like from like the people I follow on Twitter that would like, you know, sort of amateur scouts, but they give like sort of interesting takes on Twitter.
Mhm.
Gakpo's one of the ones that split opinion on like, I remember there's some people really liked him and saying he's the one, and other people's like he's a wee bit overrated. And that was before he's linked to Liverpool or anything. It was thinking he was going into the World Cup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They obviously done well there, but it kind of makes sense for him to to be like the striker, like sort of do the Firmino role if he was like sort of an attacking goal scoring midfielder before. It's like, can he be converted into sort of a false nine sort of thing? But yeah, he probably just needs time.
Yeah, I think he does. I think he does need time.
Like everyone.
What blows my mind as well is that, so since the 3-2 against Man City, our defeat in the was it the FL Cup, maybe the FA Cup, whatever cup we lost to Man City against, Fabio Carvalho scored and never played again. He has not played a minute since, and he scored from the number 10 position. And he just disappeared. So I don't know about that as well.
I feel like if you're playing someone like Nunez, you need like a number 10 in behind him. I think the number 10 is going to come back if proper goal scoring strikers are going to come back. I feel like the number 10 is also going to come back.
That would be natural.
Yeah. I don't know. Obviously, sort of the attack is one element of why it was a poor performance, but the high line was again such a clear indicator of where Klopp's problems are at the moment. I think like of the first goal, I think it was obviously Matip made the mistake passing it out.
Yep.
But then on top of that, Trent and Robertson specifically I think he was at the halfway line when you had the ball on the edge of your box. It was insane. So in terms of the back post runner who tapped it in the end, Robertson wasn't anywhere near his own box by the time.
It's a really good point.
Traditional fullbacks would be in that position, covering the back post. Now again, I think obviously you get benefits to the system, and Klopp's been very successful with it. But they're kind of getting found out, and how long does Klopp have left? I mean, if he gets knocked out.
Well, Ali called it at the start of the season.
I did. I still stand by it. He's gonna go at the end of the season. He won't go before the end of the season. But my belief is stronger and stronger every day that I'll turn out.
I mean, I think it's one of the greatest calls of this podcast if it comes through. And I could see it happening more and more now.
There you go. Yeah. Whatever. I hope I don't get to talk about Liverpool like this again, but this is depressing. Let's move into the final phase of the episode. And George, I know you're tight on time, so thanks so much for being here. Tabs on Tammy. Are you ready? Fergal. Final score: Roma 2, Fiorentina 0. First goal scored by Paulo Dybala, the 40th minute, assisted by Tammy Abraham. Second goal scored in the 82nd minute, scored by Paulo Dybala, assisted by Tammy
Abraham. Yeah, whenever Dybala signed, I did think, oh, that's quite a good duo.
Yeah,
Dybala and Abraham. I haven't really seen much of them this season, because I've kind of instead of watching other European football, I've switched to American football. Instead of watching European games in the evening, they won, Ali.
Fantastic! I was just looking up that score. 34-31.
The Bills, if anybody's interested, did beat Miami, and it was a bit tighter than you would have expected.
It was. They scored 7 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've only got into it this season, but yeah. So I haven't really watched Abraham too much, but yeah, on paper they should be a really good combo. He started off slow, Abraham, but I think he's coming good now. Did he score? I think he scored in their first game back after the break. I could be wrong about that, but he scored pretty quickly after the break anyway.
He did in a game where he got I think he rescued a point against Milan in San Siro.
That's what it was.
So that was a real good contribution from him.
That was a really scrappy finish as well.
Yeah, it was off a set piece. It was 2 set piece goals laid on, which is just typical Mourinho.
I would love it so much if Mourinho. It's obviously not, I don't think it's going to happen this season because Napoli look fantastic, but I would love it if Mourinho shithoused his way to a Serie A title with Roma.
It's far-fetched now.
Because Roma's one of these teams that are they're always underachieving, but they seem to have so much history, so much great players played for them. They did win a league title with Totti, but that was the last
2001.
Yeah, so
it's last time
it'd be amazing if it could happen. But yeah, I'm just having a flick through the teams for Short King of the Week.
Let's go through. I want to go through a couple more things in Serie A because genuinely very interesting things happened this weekend. Because Napoli won against Juventus 5-1 on Friday, but that's Friday. A really fascinating thing that happened is Guillermo Ochoa. You know Guillermo Ochoa, don't you?
The Mexican goalkeeper.
The Mexican goalkeeper. The Mexican goalkeeper that shows up in the World Cup and is the best goalkeeper in every World Cup that he's played.
Yeah, he doesn't have a club team, Ali. He turns up for Mexico and that's it, isn't that right? I thought that's what his career was.
Yeah, well, you're wrong.
Okay.
He turned up for Salernitana. Fergal. Salernitana.
I'm right. That you've just made up that team. That team doesn't exist. Nobody's heard of that team.
No. Salernitana are a Serie A team. I am pleased to report, and is in 20th. No, it's Cameronese in 20th place. They're 16th at the minute. They're actually 9 points over relegation. Sampdoria, Hellas Verona, and Cameronese have pretty much all gone down already. But Salernitana brought in Guillermo Ochoa, and he had a good couple first games. But today, he conceded 8 against Atalanta. The most he's ever conceded, of course, his entire career. So, yeah. 8-2 was the final scoreline. And it puts the table in a very interesting place when it comes to 2nd place to 7th place. Because you have Napoli are up there, 9 points ahead on 47 points. Fergal, ask your question first.
They need to give him some sort of AR alternative reality headset where it makes it look like he's playing for Mexico in the World Cup.
Put him in a massive 80,000 capacity stadium and loads of Mexican
give
flags.
Him Google Glass. Wasn't that what it was called? Give him that.
Yeah. 2nd place to 7th place. That's Milan to Roma. 38, 37, 37, 34, 34, 34. So European placement is going to be huge, but Napoli should be fine. That's the closest they have gotten to a Serie A title since 2018. I think it was 18-19. Koulibaly scored this massive header against Juventus, but Juventus went on to win the title anyway, and it was super annoying. But now it's there. It's there. They won against Juventus in that game again, 5-1, and it was a genuinely dominant performance. Juventus went on a good run themselves. Always thought it was a lie. And papering over cracks. And the cracks are still there. Delighted to say. Right. Short King of the Week. Fergal, you were saying before you were having a look to make the pick.
Gibbs White or James Ward-Prowse, I think, are the two contenders this week.
What about Paulo Dybala?
Paulo Dybala is a shout, but I think there's good reason for James Ward-Prowse.
Yeah.
Because he's closing in. He's within 2 free kicks of David Beckham's record. Well,
do we hold off
kicks.
then?
Hold off on what? Give him the short king when he breaks the record. Well, he scored 16 free kicks in all of his Southampton career, so those 2 free kicks might be a long way coming. So why not give it twice if he's there? Another reason is that he's
Gibbs White is shorter though, which does help him in this. So
it does.
Ward-Prowse.
Brennan Johnson is the one that scored the goals.
Yeah.
Against Leicester City, of course, in the derby, non-derby, however you want to see it. Really important win for Nottingham Forest, that was. So I don't know.
In terms of moments, Ward-Prowse's free kick is just stunning, and I think as a player in general, he played a little bit higher against Everton. It was actually really nice to see. He was involved sort of higher as more of a 10 in certain aspects. And I think he's got the technical quality for that. But as a player for Southampton, I reckon he could have easily made a move a little bit higher to a better club earlier on in his career. And he hasn't, and he stayed sort of faithful in that sense.
Could he though? Was there ever any? If he had kicked up a fuss, maybe. But I'm always skeptical about it's like people like Noble. It's like Mark Noble. He's definitely like a solid Premier League player and a professional. But should he get commended for staying at a club? Did anybody ever want Mark Noble other than West Ham? And I feel like Ward-Prowse is like a better player than Noble, but he's on the cusp of that. He's like he'd only ever be a squad player, and I think if he ever gets the chance to move, he should turn it down now because I think it's like you've kind of made your bed. You should stay there and be a legend there now, because I think
I really value that. I really like it when players take that.
I don't know if has anybody ever really
done
been
that.
Interested in
he was hotly tipped at the start of his career. Absolutely,
he was. Yeah,
he was big in sort of under.
He was big in Football Manager.
Yeah,
still is.
He played a lot for England under 21s as well. So I think he's still only 28. Still only 28.
Still only is. I don't know. I don't know if a team would.
I feel like
if significant money on
if
him.
Somebody needed just a solid, I could see Liverpool if they could get a cheap deal, they would sign him. But nobody's gonna pay the money that Southampton want to get him.
He's better than Henderson. He's better than Henderson.
Let's put it that way. If he goes down to the Championship, and they are last place right now, might go, but only might. Yeah. So that's how solid the connection is there.
But that's not going to happen because Bazunu's in goal, and Bazunu got save of the month against Liverpool.
Sure.
And that's the important thing to remember here.
In a game you lost, sure. Imagine losing to us. Imagine they deserve to be in last place. I'll tell you that. Man City lost to us. They deserve not to win the league. But the relegation picture is. Oh wait, let's confirm James Ward-Prowse. I think is the
James Ward-Prowse, short king of the week. Congratulations.
Short king of the week. Congratulations.
JWP.
Well deserved. Well deserved. And I think we'll automatically give it to him again when he breaks the record. I think it's a good. There's good reason to say when rather than if. He's only 2 away. Fun fact: he scored more free kicks than any other team in the last 5 years in the Premier League. So that's another really good stat that I found.
Is he 2 away from equaling or breaking the record?
Equaling, I believe. So Beckham is 18 and he's 16.
Break it.
Yeah, the fact check your own facts, people. I'm not looking this up now.
Fact check your own facts. Fact check my facts.
Fact check my facts. But I think I'm right. In saying that. But the relegation picture in the Premier League is Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Bournemouth, West Ham, Everton, Southampton. 17, 17, 17, 17. No, 17, 17, 17, 16, 15, 15, 15. It is good. All right. Final thoughts I think I'll go with congrats, Harry. He was at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium when witnessing one of the most significant wins in potentially Arsenal's history.
Yeah, if I feel like whenever people look back, if Arsenal do go on to win the title, I feel like that game would be like this was when we started to believe.
Yeah.
No, it's like this was like, you know, Man City lost, we beat Spurs. I feel like that would be the moment when Arsenal fans start to believe. If Harry still comes on and gives the conservative view of we're not you know, we're still not favourites, yada yada yada, he's talking rubbish. He's dreaming. He knows it.
You watch, Harry. You watch next week. Maybe you'll be in an even better position. And until then, hopefully see you again next time, Harry. You can tell us more about that. I am told by Harry that there is content from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium that he has recorded. All right, we'll see you next time. Hopefully Harry is going to be with us and can tell us more about his experience in a really historic game. But until then, enjoy the week. Hopefully it's less eventful because this week was too much. Bye.
Bye.